Good morning, everybody. Mike Brailsford, Brailsford Works. Thank you for joining me back on my channel. So, I do a lot of wood cutting. As a matter of fact, back in the mid to late 80s, I had a tree business that I ran for about 4 years. Then I decided it was way too dangerous a business to be in, and I became an electrician. So, but with that, I've always enjoyed cutting. And now that I've got my property here, I've got 20 acres and I've got plenty of things that I'm doing here, and I'll be doing a lot of cutting on my property. I've got some woods that I'm thinning that I want to look down because I have a new pond. I want to see my pond from the house, and so I'm thinning stuff out and so forth. But I've always used Stihl saws. I've always had great luck with them. When I had my tree business, I had them almost exclusively, at a couple others, but mainly my big power came from my Stihl saws, and I really have never had a problem with any of them. Currently, I had a Stihl M250 that actually my brother bought for me back in the early 90s, and I've had that for many years, and I used to have it mounted on an Alaskan chain mill, and it did a great job there. But as I got older, I decided I don't want to. That's way too much work. That's a very rugged job to do. So I took it off the mill and I use it for general cutting. But the M250 is a big saw, and if you lug it around all day, it's pretty darn heavy. So I wanted something smaller, and a while back I bought myself a 193, which is much smaller, and I use that a lot around my property. I cut down a lot of small pines, saplings where I'm thinning out through the pine woods and things like that, and it does a great job. It's actually in the shop right now because although I like the saw, there's some things about it I don't like. I don't like the whole chain brake being mounted inside the housing of the cover and all this. It's kind of I don't know, it's got some things that I'm just kind of question, but it does a lot of the cutting I need. So I decided I really needed a mid-size saw for doing, well, it'll probably be my go-to saw for almost everything. So yesterday I went out and I purchased MS250, and it's an 18-inch bar, 3 horsepower saw, and it can do quite a bit. I think this is the old M25 from the old nomenclature, and now it is the MS250. The gentleman at the store told me that this saw is unlike a lot of the other saws that Stihl has. This one does not have emissions control on it, and he said because of that, some of the more powerful saws actually don't have quite as much power as this one because they're bogged down by emission controls. So that was one of the riding factors for me to decide on this saw. So the MS250 is one of Stihl's older designs. It used to be the old M25. It's about a 20-year-old design. It's got an 18-inch bar. It's got the quick access caps. It comes with an 18-inch bar and is 3 horsepower. So Stihl has basically 3 levels of saws. They have their homeowner saws, which are used for occasional cutting. They've got what they used to call their farm saws or ranch saws, which are for more serious cutting, but not logger cutting. And then they had the pro saws, which are made for everyday hard use, day in, day out. The MS250 falls in at the low end of the farm saws. It is used. You can use this on a fairly regular basis, and the saw will hold up. So today I'm going to use it for, and this is going to be another thing I use it for pretty regularly, is cutting bowl blanks for my wood turning. So I've got a piece of white oak that I cut down yesterday. It's got rot down through the middle, but it's all solid here and here. And I'm just going to cut it down the middle, split this into two halves, so I have two bowl blanks out of this. And I just wanted to show you so how well this saw runs. I will say I had this bought it yesterday, and I did cutting all day yesterday, and so the chain has had some use on it already. But here we go. Okay, so I have to fuel her up. I use the Stihl HP Ultra fuel mix. Each one of these little bottles mixed to a single gallon of gas. I find that's the easiest for me to do. I hate to sit there and worry about trying to get things exactly right. If you're using this, try to find ethanol-free gas. It's the ethanol will, with time, damage your fuel lines, carburetor diaphragms, seals, things like that. So try to avoid using it. If you are only an occasional user, I suggest buying the fuel that they sell pre-made for cutting. It has a very long shelf life. You can get it at where you get your Stihl saws. It is a 93 octane, and it's good stuff, but if you do any amount of cutting, it's very expensive. So I choose to use the HP Ultra fuel mix, and the stuff it's just easy to use. So these quick access caps, I've liked that. It's quarter turn. It pops out. It's got a leash to hold your cap from getting lost. Alrighty. Cap back on. Another quarter turn. Close it. Every time you fill your gas, fill your bar oil. Very important. You will destroy a chain very fast and your bar if you don't put in enough bar oil. I buy the cheapest bar oil I can because as far as I'm concerned, bar oil is bar oil. And I can't ever seem to do it without overflowing it because it's a much smaller tank than the gas tank. There we go. Drain off a bit. Now I will say my 036 has been a beast of a saw. I've loved it. I've had it. I had one overhaul done on it, just to get it back up to full running specs. But it was still running when I had it serviced. But this saw is a beast. All right. So when you're starting a Stihl chainsaw, you're going to grip the throttle. You have to put your hand on it. This is safety. You have to have that, then you can pull the trigger. Then you push the control switch all the way down to its bottom position. And when you do it, you're going to pull until you hear it pop. If you don't hear it pop, you got to keep pulling until you hear it pop. That's if the saw is cold. If the saw is warm, you don't have to do this step. Popped. Move it up one position. And there you go. So you can see with this cut, I was getting these really long peels. That's actually because when I was doing it like that, I was ripping and not cross-cutting. Alright, so this is just a short one today. Kind of introduce you to the Stihl MS250. Great saw. I'll do more videos later on of my cutting and give you kind of an update on how it's doing. But with my background with Stihl, I'm not worried. These things have always been great for me, and I expect to get a lot of use out of this saw. With that, if you enjoyed this video, please click on some of my others. I have a few other product reviews I've done. I've also done some videos. I did a video on cutting burls. Take a look at that if you're interested in cutting. And if you think you've gotten any value out of this video, I'd appreciate it if you click like and subscribe. And as always, please stay safe, everybody. Bye-bye.